Casual Friday here on the Just Baseball Show. It is Friday, May 10th. Jack McMullen, Aram Leighton, and I'm Peter Apple. You got the three of us. And it's a casual Friday because we don't have a ton to talk about, but we came up with some topics that I think are going to be entertaining. We're going to talk about the hottest teams, one in each league. We're going to go over the best defenders so far. It's going to be a guessing game. I got the numbers. Arm and Jack are going to provide their guesses. We also have games of the weekend. We're going to pick some winners, and then as well as players of the week brought to you by Outlier. And this entire episode is brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sports books. All you got to do, we're going to download BetMGM on iOS or Android. And then we're going to use code JustBaseball when we deposit. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. So what you're going to do is you're going to log on to BetMGM. You're going to use that code when you deposit. You're going to bet on standard odds. If you lose, you get it back in bonus bets. If you win, nothing happens. Don't leave free coin on the table. But remember, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. How's everybody doing? We don't have a ton to talk about, so let's do a mental check-in. Aram, how are you?
This is a bad time to do the mental check-in. I thought I would have fought the cold away by now. I feel like the Popeyes meme, I feel exhausted. Like the woman outside of Popeyes, the employee.
Oh, yeah.
I can't shake it, man. Like I can't shake it. And I'm up all night. I can't sleep. And then and it's not even that bad of an illness. It's just bad enough. So yeah. I've just been in a fog, but it's a good day to just be lazy after this. And I think just watch some baseball and, just do some writing. But in terms of my mental state, like you couldn't have picked a worse time to ask me. I feel terrible.
Perfect.
Well, I'm doing
Jack, how are you?
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, how are you?
I don't know, man. I like that South Florida native, when he goes to a meme expressing exhaustion, he goes to the Popeyes lady sitting outside and not Jimmy Butler on the stanchion in the bubble.
I've used that one too many times. I thought about Jimmy Butler on the stanchion, but yeah, I don't know. Those two are like, I interchange.
Okay.
I interchange. But
I
felt more like because Jimmy Butler looked exhausted. The Popeyes employee looked like her soul was just like taken from her. Like she was just absolutely drained, and that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about Paul Skeens, which I feel like I'm saying the same thing, and then 30 minutes later, I'm saying the same thing.
I've actually seen you on so many different things in the last crazy. 24 hours. It's crazy. You keep popping up on my feed. It's nuts. I'm like, oh, Jack did that. Like, oh, Jack did that. So, it's got to be fun in the beginning, but yeah, I guess people just want it's the story, and it's like, okay, who are you going to reach out to talk about Paul Skeens? That's right available. You're kind of that perfect sweet spot, right? Like you're not that important. So like you can be reached very easily, but you also have been there and like can provide plenty of good context. So you're that perfect middle ground. And unfortunately, you just keep saying yes.
For sure. Can you say that one more time about my importance level? Just real quick.
Like if it was a 20/80 scale, you're like a 40, but that's solid. Like that's like a big league role, but a 60, you're not going to be able to get that guy's not getting back to you in time. You're not getting him on the show. It's going to be tough.
Right.
But a 40, he's going to get back to you and he's going to fill a role and he's going to do a decent job.
So that's pretty cool, actually, because you've got me as like slightly below average. I was thinking I am equivalent to Joey Gallo's hit tool. Like if there was a socially acceptable 25, I'd be that. Which is kind of fun. So like, you know what? Now that we've dissected my level of importance, how are you, Peter? Like, let's turn it on you.
All I asked is, how are you guys? That's all I did. And now we're getting into the debate of Jack's importance. I'm pretty good, besides the fact that I can't win a bet, but I don't think anybody here wants to hear about that anymore. What people might be interested in, I saw a tweet come up if we're on the topic of Paul Skeens, and I'm sure you can answer this as well, Jack. The last three number one overall selections prior to Paul Skeens, Spencer Torkelson, Henry Davis, and Jackson Holliday, have combined to produce negative 3.7 B-WAR in 1,600 plate appearances so far in their career. That comes to us from Nugget Chef, J. Hey Kid on Twitter.
Yeah.
He does a great job. That. He does do
I
it.
love Nugget Chef. He's great. I think he's one of the co-hosts of Baseball is Dead. But he pumps out quality thing after quality thing. What I will say to that is note which one is only giving about 35% or 35 total plate appearances to the equation. Like who accounts for 1% of that, and who accounts for the other 99% of that.
All I'm
That
saying
actually,
is Paul Skeens cursed?
No.
Is it the number one
I think
overall
he
pick?
breaks the curse. I think he
Okay.
breaks the curse. Actually, though, that just spurred a thought in my mind because I've been wanting to talk about like Torque. We're doing this whole thing over again, by the way. Like, what's the deal with Torque? Is he going to shake out of it? He looked like the best hitter in the world. And that at the end of last season, we're like, oh, we found it. And here we go again. I fully believe now it has to be a mental thing for Torque at this point. But Henry Davis, he got sent back to trips. I'm actually glad you brought this up, Peter, because I actually wanted to talk about Henry Davis. Like at this point, we talk about like Jackson Holliday, you don't change your assessment at all. Like he's still the number one prospect in baseball. Yes, it was unfortunate, but you need way more of a sample than that. He's 20, blah, blah, blah. Henry Davis has gone back and forth. What?
I was just going to quickly interrupt you. Once he went back to AAA, Jackson Holliday's been performing well. Am I mistaken?
No, he got off to a slow start back in AAA.
I saw a tweet maybe a day ago.
No, he's been good the last 3 days. Really good the last 3 games.
Okay, because the overall numbers in AAA, I think since he got sent down, are pretty solid.
Yeah, now that he 3 hits, 2 hits, and a hit the last 3 games, and a ton of walks. So yeah, he's settling right back in. But even then, like it's going to be always the question is he going to do it at the big league level? Henry Davis has gotten a couple chances now, and it's not just that he's not performing; it's that he's not performing, and it's also what is his role? He's not a good catcher. He's not a good outfielder. He has to hit for power, which he has a lot of power, but he has to also hit for a decent amount of average. So there's very little defensive utility. And he really needs to hit. So that puts way more pressure on the bat, and he's not hitting. Like this was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And when Endy Rodriguez comes back, he's out of the pecking order and catcher. Now he really needs to hit to be a corner outfielder. They've got some dudes now all of a sudden. Like, are we at the point now where it's like starting to sound the alarms for Henry Davis? And my second part of the question is, who would you rather have moving forward, Spencer Torkelson or Henry Davis?
Jack, you want to answer that one first?
No, man, you go first.
I mean,
that's a great question, right?
It is a good question, but I'd rather have Spencer Torkelson because even him coming out of college was a better hitting prospect by far than Henry Davis. Henry Davis went under slot in that draft. So you could make the argument that he shouldn't have even been the number 1 overall pick if we're just talking about talent alone. Spencer Torkelson at the time on talent alone, definitely. And it does seem like with Spencer Torkelson, he put up a fine year last year.
He had 31 homers.
31 home runs. And he does seem to always start slow. I remember that was a narrative coming out of college, the warm weather at Arizona State, and then he goes to Comerica, plays there in the cold months, and he doesn't really do well. And then as the summer months come in, he starts playing better. He might just be a slow starter. It's a good question in the sense of they're both number 1 overall picks and both haven't fully proven it yet, but I'm still backing Spencer Torkelson's bat far over Henry Davis, especially because at least we know that Spencer Torkelson can play first and he has a position.
Yeah. Well,
when Henry
that's the crazy thing. Some people might say, oh, well, I'll take the guy that can at least like catch a little bit and whatever. Torkelson is showing signs of life too. He's hitting 4 straight, had 2 doubles the other day and had another double, I think 2 days ago. So starting to show signs of life. But I think people forget, like it's really easy to forget that Torkelson hit 31 home runs in Comerica last year. Yeah. I think people were really upset. I saw Tigers fans saying like, maybe like send him down. Like, no, you can't do that at this point. You've already done that last year. He hit his stride in the second half. But honestly, the more I look at Torkelson's numbers, it's actually, I think, a no-brainer Torque. And I think that's even more of an indictment on Davis. Like, what do you do with him now? Do you keep developing him as a catcher? You know, and I think it's been a little unfair to him how he's gone, back and forth. He's been ragdolled a little bit. But I mean, where does this guy fit into your plans? I know it hasn't been that many games at the big league level at the end of the day, but it's been a pretty decent sized sample. And when he gets to AAA, he demolishes, right, Jack? I mean, every time he gets back there, he's putting up big numbers for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, he looks a little off right now, but we're also talking 2 games back in AAA. Like, hey, he looks a little off in 6 ABs. Like, what are we going to take away from that? Nothing. I can appreciate the math problem that they made for themselves and that they they did the math right in 2021. They underslot Davis, they pay overslot for Solomito and Bubba Chandler and Lonnie White. And you couldn't project the injury issues that Lonnie White was going to run into. But Solomito and Chandler are both top 100 prospects. So you got 3 top 100 prospects in your first 4 picks if you are the Pirates in the 2021 draft. So I can appreciate the math problem there. I don't really understand the catcher thing anymore. And it's not because Joey Bart is playing somewhat well. It's because you already had Endy Rodriguez. And Endy is a guy that looks the part of an everyday big league catcher. And I've heard nothing but resoundingly positive things about Endy Rodriguez from battery mates and from pitching coaches. It's like, this guy is a sponge. And I've heard the same thing about Henry too. But if you've got a guy with the innate feel and a little bit less of the brute force in Endy Rodriguez, put Henry in right and let him do it there. But they forced him into catching this year because Endy was hurt and they didn't really have a good backup option. Like DeLay was around for a little bit, but DeLay got hurt. But Jason DeLay is not an everyday starting catcher in Major League Baseball. They forced him into the catching thing. I think the best plan for Henry Davis moving forward is like, hey man, lean into offensive production and learn how to be a really good right fielder, because he was not great in a corner outfield spot.
He was bad.
He didn't play the corner outfield before then. Like, you know how quickly a bad corner outfielder can become an average corner outfielder if they're a good athlete?
Yeah, and he's a good athlete.
He's a really good athlete, and he's got a rocket for an arm. Like, I think if you gave him an offseason where you told him that he's going to be a right fielder, he can come back and be an okay right fielder.
Well, and that's the thing, too. They delayed that whole process now by trying to put him back at catcher. And I understand, like, you're trying to win games and, you know, Endy going down stinks. It came out of nowhere. Okay, what do we do? Let's go put our number 1 overall pick back there and see if he can hold it down. I just think when you already made that decision to throw him into the outfield full time in his entire big league debut, pretty much, I think it's so crazy to go back on that. And now he's going to go back to the outfield again, and they're just stunting his development. So it is unfair to him. I definitely think Torque's bat is just way more trustworthy, and both these guys have to hit. But now Henry Davis needs to, you know, learn how to play the outfield at a decent level and figure out, you know, just how to hit enough at the big league level. Like it's a lot for a number 1 overall pick out of college to still need to have to figure out. Like they couldn't have made it more difficult for a guy that could have been fast tracked, has hit really well at each stop in the minor leagues. Like they made it more difficult for him.
The other thing is he turns 25 this year. He turns 25 in September. It's not like he's a 22-year-old number 1 overall pick. Like he's 24 and like 24 and a half at this point, more than 24 and a half at this point. So I'm not saying like you're running out of runway for him because he has yet to exhaust a full year of Major League service time. But dude, like, time's ticking.
And here's the thing, though, and my last point before we move on to some of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball right now. You're talking about just putting him in a corner, giving him an offseason to learn the position. We kicking out Jack Sawinski from this outfield? He's currently playing right field. I know Michael A. Taylor is the center fielder, so you could rationalize moving Sawinski over to center and then putting Henry Davis in right. But the thing is, you basically cannot play Jack Sawinski against lefties. That's why Michael Taylor is getting a lot of run, and Michael Taylor is doing well. Now, is Michael A. Taylor the future for the Pirates in center? Probably not. But I know that they have outfield talent. And is it, all right, this is Henry Davis's job, even though we have other guys outperforming him right now just because he was the number 1 overall pick?
Can I ask a question? Is Jack Sawinski outperforming Henry Davis?
Not this year, but I think he has.
WRC plus, and he's got a negative 0.7 F4 at this point.
No, that's fair. If you want to, if Jack Sawinski is not a part of the future, that's fine. I know he's off to a slow start, but I think he's proven that he's been a better hitter so far than Henry Davis.
Yeah, for sure. In his major league career, that's true. But like, I don't, especially with the start to this year, and the frustration point that Sawinski I know has been for spurts, like that guy is as streaky as they come in Major League Baseball. I just think like stop a Pirates fan on the street outside of PNC and ask them to close their eyes. And if they see Jack Sawinski in the outfield in 2026, they're like, I don't know. Come back to me on that.
Yeah, maybe first base.
Yeah, I'm not exactly like arguing for Jack Sawinski. I'm just saying if you're planning on making Henry Davis the full-time right fielder, what then do you do? Is Sawinski a bench bat? Is he just comes in against righties, and you're fine with that. That was more of my question.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think that's a good plan, or where would you go there?
I think you don't have to worry about it too much because he can DH. And I think in the future, like Andrew McCutchen's not going to be DHing every day. So
hey, you never know. You never know.
And
I mean, I hope
they may go to Reynolds DHing. Like Reynolds, it's not like he's lighting the world on fire in a corner.
You signed that big extension for a DH then?
Yeah, I guess.
that'd be pretty. Yeah, that stinks. But yeah, they could do that too. I guess they'll be able to figure that out. But he should just be working his butt off to become a passable defender and then figure it out. But at the end of the day, if he's not hitting, nothing else matters. And so I'm interested to see what they have him working on in Indy, Jack. Like if he's going to make some swing adjustments, if there's going to be some tangible changes, or if it's just, more of the same and just hope it clicks.
We'll see.
We will see. Let's talk about the hottest team in the American League right now. And that is the freaking Minnesota Twins, winners of, what was it, 8 of their last 9, 9 of their last 10?
I think it's 9 of their last 10, assuming they don't blow a 10-run lead right now.
And they definitely didn't. They won 11-1 today against the Seattle Mariners with another masterclass from Pablo Lopez. This entire team has been playing well from top to bottom. They're getting contributions from Simeon Woods Richardson in the rotation, who just spun off another great outing, a guy that they pulled up from the minor leagues, one of the guys that they got in the Jose Barrios trade, who's finally starting to find his footing. Bailey Ober is still doing his thing. Joe Ryan and Pablo Lopez are the aces at the top of the rotation, and even Chris Paddock continues to pitch well for them. But guys in their lineup that I've been incredibly impressed with, Ryan Jeffers is arguably baseball's best offensive catcher right now compared to maybe William Contreras. The guy's a .606 slug, and he's on base percentage is .381 while hitting .300 with multiple bombs. Edouard Julien is contributing in the power department. Trevor Larnach's hitting .360. Max Kepler's hitting .320. Carlos Correa is doing his thing. Willie Castro has at least been fine. This whole offense has been hitting. The bullpen has been good. And the rotation looks really strong, even though Sonny Gray is now a St. Louis Cardinal. This team got a lot of flack because they couldn't really add in the offseason. The Bally Sports regional stuff, they didn't have the payroll that they wanted to, and they had to cut cost. And they've been able to plug and play. And it's been exciting if you're a Twins fan because they got off to such a rough start. And the thinking is, they're going to start trading some guys if the season doesn't go well because they're already trying to cut payroll. This team is competing. They're right there with the Royals now, and they still have a chance to win this division. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I mean, it's just funny. Like on May 9th, we're saying, thank God they have Ryan Jeffers and Trevor Larnach.
They're hitting.
What is this game, man? This game doesn't make any sense to me. The rotation, I could actually argue, has been borderline underwhelming. And that's the craziest part out of all this. Like Pablo Lopez has a 4.3. You would hope that he's a mid-3. Joe Ryan's been a mid-3. That's been awesome. But like Ober at a 4.4, you were hoping that he was at a sub-4. At this point, they won 14-16, and that is crazy. Now, I will like douse the flame a little bit and take a gander at their opponents during that 12-game winning streak. Like that was, I think, 7 of the 12 came against the White Sox, and then they swept the Angels, and then they were in Boston and they took 2 of 3 or at home against Boston. Like that was the 12-game winning streak. So.
But then, to be fair, just took 3 or 4 from the Mariners, too. And the Pablo Lopez did definitely lowered his ERA while striking out 1 million Mariners.
Yeah, well, and the Mariners are an offensively struggling team as well. So I think they're beating up on their schedule. Having said that, you play the team that's in front of you. You play the team on the schedule. And there's no denying that they have taken care of business. And the best teams in baseball are the ones that take care of business, regardless of who is in front of them. So you can play the above 500, below 500 game. I think that plays better in the NBA than it does in Major League Baseball. Yeah. Because Major League Baseball is way too long, and the sample is large enough to the point where if you beat up on a bunch of sub 500 teams, like, yeah, it may bite you in the ass in October, but you got to October. Versus the NBA, like, you can just coast by on sub 500 wins.
You buying this from the Twins?
I might be. I mean, I do think that, the schedule is definitely a part of it in terms of, maybe the starting pitching doesn't have this good of a stretch, in the next 20 games because we saw some struggles out of the gate. But, Lopez I think we have seen more than enough to believe that he's more of the guy that we just saw against the Mariners than the guy that entered the day with a 4.3. And just the fact that Louis Varland was a guy that we were thinking, oh, maybe he can fit in. He was an automatic loss for them for 4 starts. Now that they have Paddock pitching the way that you mentioned too, looking really good. And now you add Yohan Duran back too. Like he was out. Now he's been back for 5 appearances, and that's a huge X factor for them out of the bullpen, and just to lock things down. And they're doing this without Royce Lewis, and I think you have to bake that in and assume that you're just not going to have a Royce Lewis available much. But I mean, the guy's played 1 game this year, so I mean they're doing that without him. Buxton's been on the shelf, another guy that you kind of have to factor in to just not be available, but. You assume that they'll be a little bit more available than not at all in the coming months, especially at least Royce Lewis. Seeing Jose Miranda back into form is really cool, and that's something I might start to be buying. Larnach is so talented. We've just been waiting for it to kind of happen and come together. And Julian's been red hot. So I think I am buying it because I do think that some of these guys are going to cool off, but I think other guys are going to heat up. Other guys are going to get healthy. And I do think that the pitching side, sure, they've gotten some shocking starts from Simeon Woods Richardson and things like that. But, I also think that some of their starters, as Jack had mentioned, have been underperforming. So I think this Twins team is playing as good a ball as we've seen in a while. And it seems like Correa's starting to get his legs back under him too.
Do you guys believe in this Simeon Woods Richardson? Because I know you guys were never huge fans of him. And when I'm watching him, you were a big fan.
I was a huge fan.
Talk to me about your history with Simeon Woods Richardson.
I was a huge fan, and now I'm less of a huge fan. I watched him struggle mightily in 2022, and then I watched him struggle more mightily in 2023. I was like, okay, I know he's young, but he has been one of the key returns in a couple of massive deals. Stroman, what was it? Mets draft pick, went from New York to Toronto in that Stroman deal, and then went from Toronto to Minnesota with Austin Martin in the Barrios deal. So we've been waiting on Simeon Woods Richardson to put it together. And again, still a very young guy. But I watched him in AAA this year, and I'm just like, yeah, I just don't know if this plays up there. And then all of a sudden he goes up there and it plays. And I'm like, okay, well, color me shocked. That's just what's happened a couple of times now. So I will say, he's surprising me in the best way because I've been in his corner for a while here, and I've been being bitten in AAA so far.
Arm, what do you think?
I was fully just out. It was pretty rough to watch last year. But the velo being up a tick is interesting because he's a guy that likes to really throw the fastball, kind of going multiple fastballs, different directions, kind of just finesse his way through lineups. But seeing that when the velo was up in this last start and he's sitting more 93, 94, 8 Ks. I know it's a struggling offense in Seattle, but I mean, we had not really seen him rack up 8 Ks. I don't think he had an outing last year in AAA. He did not. That's crazy. So he struck out 8 Mariners in his last start on the 6th. He didn't have a single outing in AAA last year where he struck out 8. The most he struck out in an outing was 7. So, I mean, that just shows you that there's just a different level of the stuff. And he was averaging more 90, 91 on the fastball last year, and now he's more 92 to 94. So I think that's the big factor there. And I am buying that, he looks like he can be a back end of the rotation arm and looks like the guy that I think teams had thought they traded for twice. But last year was a disaster. There were starts where his fastball was averaging upper 80s. So it just seems like he's kind of back to his form a bit. And I guess I'm soft buying it. I think he's a big league starter at this velocity, but if it dips back down, it might get ugly again.
And luckily, the Twins have plenty of reinforcements in that rotation. When we look at how good Pablo has been, and I think he's only here's Zoom giving me the thumbs up. I think Pablo's going to be even better. So it's reflected in his expected numbers, and we just saw it in full force against the Mariners. I think Bailey Ober is going to be better as well. Joe Ryan is still the man, and I think Chris Paddock is a solid starter. So whatever you get from Simeon Woods Richardson, it's just a cherry on top of the sundae of a very good rotation. Do we see anybody coming in if Simeon Woods Richardson struggles?
Maybe Festa.
Festa shoved against you guys, right, Jack?
Yeah,
wasn't it against Indy?
Limited sample. I think it was was it a 4-inning start? It was either a 4-inning or a 5-inning start. It was early, but Festa, I think he threw an 11 a.m. start. That's tough. But Festa is an interesting guy. If he's in the strike zone, I think he can be really good at the major league level. But his issue at points is he's a very tall, long guy that can lose the strike zone quickly.
Let's talk
He's
about
an arm for them.
go ahead.
Though. I would say he's an arm for them for sure, though. At the very least, like if it's a disaster and you really need somebody and Varland's not working, like and Woods Richardson hits a wall, like Festa can go in there and 5 and dive as your 5 starter and be a decent, better plug and play guy than most would have in AAA.
Sure.
So, I mean, they're in a good spot pitching wise, even as Peter mentioned, without Sonny Gray, which does make me feel pretty good about where they're at. And you're hoping maybe Marco Raya could get up at some point this year, even though they are so hesitant to take the training wheels off of him. I'm buying it. I think I know the offense is going to be sporadic, and I know they'll probably hit some snags here and there. But we didn't even mention Alex Kirilloff. Like we've seen stretches where he's really good. Like could he be a guy that picks up for them if other guys aren't performing? Like I don't think all of these guys are going to keep hitting the way that they're hitting, but I do think other guys can pick up the slack when they do slow down some. So I think the Twins are for real. And honestly, all of a sudden, we might have a pretty interesting AL Central.
You definitely do. We also have a pretty interesting National League East right now.
Always.
The Phillies are at the top of the division. They lead by 2, and it's because they never freaking lose. They sit at 26-12, the best record in all of Major League Baseball. And it's on the backs of just an elite rotation and an elite offense. Now, losing Trey Turner definitely hurts. But Bryson Stott has moved over to shortstop, and they really just haven't missed a beat because there's really no auto outs in this lineup. I guess you could say outside of Johan Rojas, but he's at least providing defensive value in center field. He hasn't been as electric as I think that we saw in the playoffs, and Phillies fans were promised like, all right, Johan Rojas is probably not going to hit, but he's going to be the best defender you have ever seen. He hasn't been quite that, but he's still a good defensive outfielder in a premium position. But I mean, you just go through the lineup every day, and especially with Alec Boehm's real emergence. We always knew he was a good player, but the fact that he's been hitting at an all-star caliber level comparatively to some of the best hitters in baseball, I don't think Phillies fans were expecting that. But there's no outs in this lineup. And then you go into the rotation. They had to put Spencer Turnbull in the bullpen because they didn't have any room, even though he's got an ERA, in the low to mid 2s? Because Zach Wheeler is still the best pitcher alive. Christopher Sanchez has been great. Aaron Nola, his stuff looks better than it was at the beginning of the season. Ranger Suarez is arguably the best left-handed pitcher in Major League Baseball. Now, the bullpen has not been good, but that's one of those like stats that I just genuinely don't believe in because it's too damn talented back there. I'm not the biggest Gregory Soto guy, but I do love Alvarado. I love Hoffman. I love Kerkering. I love Strahm, and I still think Sir Anthony Dominguez can be nasty. And then now you put Spencer Turnbull back there. Jack, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, Jose Alvarado has appeared in 16 games. Orion Kerkering has appeared in 9. Kerkering missed the front half of this front quarter of the season. So they've got Kerkering back. And you mentioned that the bullpen is not good. It's different. Let's split the bullpen in half. The guys that you would maybe expect to be good: Alvarado, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Gregory Soto. Alvarado's got a 4.3 right now in 16 appearances. Sir Anthony Dominguez has a 7.5 in 15 appearances. And Gregory Soto has a 6 in 13 appearances. But then let's look at Jeff Hoffman, Matt Strahm, and Orion Kerkering. Kerkering has a sub-2 in 9 appearances. Hoffman has a 1.13 in 16 appearances. Strahm has a 1.26 in 15 appearances. So the half you expect to be lights out has been anything but. It's been very Houston Astros of them. But the half that you don't expect, you expect to be the Robin to that other trio's Batman, has been the Batman so far this year. So lean into that half. Bullpens are all about riding hot hands. I firmly believe that. Like there's a very short list of relievers that I'm comfortable with over 162. But I'm a big proponent of riding whoever's hot right now. And if Orion Kerkering gets the ball in the 9th, then fuck it. Orion Kerkering gets the ball in the 9th.
Hoffman's been crazy. I think maybe he gets the ball in the 9th a little bit more too. He's got a couple of saves already this year. You know Alvarado is going to be better, and I feel very good about at least Sir Anthony Dominguez being better. And I think that's part of the reason, because it is nuts that Taijuan Walker is getting that 5th spot in the rotation instead of Spencer Turnbull, given what Turnbull's done.
They're paying him.
Yeah, sunk cost fallacy, right? It's because you're paying him, you should also penalize your team. I just never understood that, but I also understand that it's the optics of it, and you want to try to make it seem like a good deal. And the only way to do that is by not relegating him to the bullpen. But the other angle I think there would be Taijuan Walker would not be any use in the bullpen, and Turnbull still is useful in the bullpen and will be really solid there. And as Peter mentioned, like the bullpen has not been great, in terms of it's a little bit top heavy, or I should say actually bottom heavy, as Jack mentioned, which is weird, but Turnbull helps elongate that too. So it does help. If Taijuan Walker can just be like a mid-fours guy, this staff is really scary because the bullpen's going to shore up a little bit more. I think Turnbull could end up being a higher leverage guy for you. Stuff will probably tick up in short spurts. And I mean, you can't argue against that front four in the rotation. Is this the year that they finally put it all together? If it's not this year, I don't think it's ever happening, at least with this group.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by putting it all together? Like winning the World Series or potentially
winning the World Series?
Winning the World Series. I mean, I'm more thinking like, can they win this division even above the Braves as well? Like, I agree with you. I'm fully on board. The Phillies can win the World Series. They have the pedigree of going to the playoffs plenty of times. They have proven playoff performers. They have the bank. They have that enormous crowd against you. I'm talking about the other teams. They're very pro Phillies over there at the bank. They have the entire recipe to do damage in the playoffs and in the regular season too, because this is the most complete Phillies team that I think we've seen in this kind of era, right? What were we knowing about the Phillies? Can't play defense. They got a couple good pitchers, but at the back end, it's not good. And the bullpen is just never good. Outside of the bullpen not being good, where we expect them to be better, and they still have some good bullpen arms, all of those problems have basically been solved. Kyle Schwarber ain't playing left anymore. Bryce Harper is fully healthy, and he has a home now at first base. Like, they get Trey Turner back. This team is dangerous.
Yeah. And the farm system's better than it's been in a little bit. So, like, they can make some trades, too. Like, they've got some pieces that could get them guys if they really want to. Like, Painter's untouchable. And, that's the other thing. Could they get Painter back at the end of the year? Is that remotely possible? He could end up coming in a relief role if they wanted. I don't know if they'll want to do that or risk that. But you have McAble, who could be moved. They have a rookie-level kid in Starlin Caba, who has a ton of value. I think a lot of people like him in the industry. Definitely could get you something. Aiden Miller. Yep. Aiden Miller is looking phenomenal out of the gate. That could be a trade chip. They got Justin Crawford, who continues to look pretty solid. Like, they've got some guys that they could move. And, Dombrowski's always going to be willing to do that. I think this is the most trade capital they've had. It's the most complete team they've had. They're playing out of their minds in the first half, which we've never really seen. Usually it's always, I dig myself a hole and then somehow fight out of it and ease into the wild card. And then you just see them kind of empty the tank because they're always working uphill and then, kind of run out of gas a little bit at the end. If they put themselves in a position here to win the division and go into the playoffs that way and make more reinforcements, make more trades, because they have more trade capital, that could be the difference between, the team that kind of just came up short the last couple of years and a team that finally wins it all.
These next 6 weeks decide the NL East. Trey Turner's out 6 weeks. If they are surviving and if they are holding off the Atlanta Braves for the next 6 weeks and you get Trey back, I mean, the momentum is all in Philly at that point. But if the Braves start to brave and they start to inch away from the Phillies and, it's like, hey, Trey still isn't back for another 3 weeks and Atlanta is a game ahead of us right now, like, that's when Atlanta wins the division. I do think that this division is going to be decided while Trey is out, and we'll see what happens there. Like, at the end of the day, on paper, like, you take pretty much every element of the Atlanta Braves over every element of the Philadelphia Phillies. But to this point in the season, 35, 36 games into the season, what element of the Atlanta Braves is performing better than the Philadelphia Phillies? The bullpen?
The bullpen.
Certainly not the lineup. This Braves lineup, like right now, the Braves are 22-12. I would argue
top
that this
three
is,
in WAR right now are like Marcelo Zuna, Darno, maybe, like,
and Reynaldo
it's not
Lopez.
Olson Acuna. Yeah, and Reynaldo Lopez. It's not Acuna. It's not Olson. It's not Riley. It's not Albies. Like, none of those. It's not Michael Harris. It's crazy.
And that almost makes them scarier.
I know.
That's why. Okay, this is the exact point I wanted to make, Arm. I think the Braves are playing terrible baseball, and they're 22-12 for them. right?
For
Because
them.
this offense in the past 3 weeks ranks in the bottom 5 in WRC plus against right-handed pitching. Like, this offense has been in a complete funk. Just from a gambling perspective, they've been under the total in 14 of their last 16 games. And that
Holy
points
crap.
to their offense really, really struggling, but the pitching doing their job.
The pitching too.
Like, the rotation has been great. The bullpen has been great, but it's not this normal Braves offense that we're used to. And the only reason the Braves offense has been keeping afloat is the big bear who hits fifth. I mean, Marcell Ozuna hits a home run, it seems like every day. He's the league leader in home runs right now at 12, league leader in RBIs as well. But the first four, who could all be MVP candidates at some point, in Acuna, Albies, Riley, and Olsen, have just been really struggling. Like, Matt Olsen has looked like a hole right now. And Acuna, it's so funny. I was like, Acuna is really struggling. And then I go to the stolen base leaderboards. He's like second. I don't know when he's stealing. I don't know when he is.
He's getting on base at 370. He's getting on base at 370 clip still because he's walking so much. But he's slugging 351, which is crazy. But also, Marcell Ozuna has more home runs than Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, and Jared Kelenic combined.
You just got to throw Jared Kelenic in there, give him a stray.
That was the only guy I could throw in that wouldn't put it over the top. Kelnic's been fine, but if I threw in anybody else, it would have been one more. That's crazy. Like, that's nuts. So those guys are going to come together. By the way, Sean Murphy's not even playing. He's still been hurt with the oblique. He's going to come back. I mean, that's what's so scary to me. Is as long as the rotation is healthy, and that is a big if, right? Max Fried has been banged up the last couple of years.
Charlie Morton's 40.
Charlie Morton's, an AARP member.
Right.
Chris Sale, we don't need to tell you about his injury history, but how about how he's looked? He's sub 3 now.
He is so good. I mean, he was unreal against the Red Sox again. Him and Reynaldo Lopez.
And that's the other thing, though. Can Lopez handle, 180 innings once we start getting to one? I think he can too, but
yeah, why not?
But that's a lot of variables, though. I think all of your pitchers, every single starter except for Bryce Elder is on the other side of 30, and they all have some unique aspects to them. I think either recent injury history, guy moved from the bullpen, things like that. And if another guy goes down, all of a sudden the rotation starts to look thin. Now you're bringing Smith Shawver back up. Maybe it's a Darius Vine spot start. So that's where I think they're the most vulnerable, is the area where they've actually been the strongest. So, if the pitching does start to wane, then the bats are going to pick back up. That's why I do agree with the sentiment from Jack, which is, while the Braves are human right now, the Phillies need to try to create as much of a gap as they can, because there's going to be a point in time, I think, where no one's going to be able to keep pace with the Braves over a 60-game sample. Like, I think over the final 60 games, it's just going to be so hard to keep pace with them. But if you have enough separation, you might be able to just do that with your rotation and just continuing to play ball and not be streaky. They can't be the streaky Phillies. And to tie a bow on the whole conversation, this is the first team with the Phillies that I see because of the defense, because I do think the bullpen will be better, because of the starting pitching, because of the length of the lineup now, and guys, that were kind of the bottom end of the lineup performing. I think this is the most complete Phillies team we've seen, so they might be the least volatile. And if they can separate now, maybe they can just hang on for dear life and grab that NL East, and maybe that'll be the difference for them this year.
Can I just say, welcome back to the Chris Sale experience. Like, this is what I grew up loving.
Yeah.
This is 14-year-old through 20-year-old Jack, like, in hog heaven with a pitcher. Chris Sale had 7 straight years where he was top 6 in Cy Young voting. 7 consecutive years. Never forget how good prime Chris Sale was. Like, it was next level. And you're getting glimpses right now where it's 11 Ks per 9, fewer than 2 walks per 9, and opponents are hitting like 210 against him. Those are prime numbers. Now, the difference is Sale had 6 complete games in 2016, and he was like consistently going 200 innings every year. He probably won't do that now because he's 35 years old, but like, this is bringing me back right now.
I think you'll appreciate this well, Jack. Just wrapping up on this point before we move to best defensive players so far, games of the week, and players of the week. On the mailbag episode, I was talking to Aram about how I'm binging Last Dance again. for like the fifth time because
Why?
it's like
Fifth time?
and maybe not the fifth, but I've watched it at least 2 or 3 times through.
I thought it was fine because it was in COVID. Like I thought The Last Dance and Tiger King were fine because there was nothing else to do. But keep going.
There's something about The Last Dance that I absolutely love. So in my write-up, when I bet the under, I talked about Chris Sale and about the revenge game with Boston and how Boston traded him away. And I just imagined him sitting in that same chair that Michael Jordan was in The Last Dance saying, and I took that personally. And then he just shoved it up their ass. Like if anyone on the Red Sox at the time where he was on the team just like made a weird comment or something, he's like, I remember you, Will Abreu. You didn't say hi to me when we walked next to each other in the locker room. I'm going to destroy you. Chris Sale has that Michael Jordan-esque mentality, and that's what I think the Braves needed to kick it in gear. The problem is it hasn't been the rotation, it's been the freaking offense. So if you can kick it in gear for Albies and Riley and Olsen and Acuna, yeah, we got a dangerous.
I like that point because when the trade went down, we said that might be the edge that they're missing right now in the playoffs. That why does this team just seem to fall apart in the playoffs? They don't have that like just that guy to be in the front line and just be a maniac, and like because Acuna is not going to be that for you. He's not going to be the tone setter. He can be the best player on the field, but he's not going to be the guy that I think everyone follows behind. And I'm not saying everyone's going to follow behind Chris Sale, but if he takes the ball, you're down 1-0, or they might even give him the ball game one, depending on how Fried's throwing. But let's say you're down 1-0 and he goes out there and he strikes out the side and he comes out the mound looking like a psycho. Like that is what gets your team fired up. And I think those are the things that they may have been missing a little bit in the past. And Chris Sale could be that difference maker for them.
I feel like Sale and Charlie Morton have to be best friends right now. They probably just operate on the same wavelength.
Just getting the senior discount at Sizzler.
Yeah, just vibe it out. Like they're rolling in same time before everybody, and it's like you youngsters just don't know how to get to the ballpark on time. That kind of thing.
Baseball isn't the same when I was playing. All right, let's play a guessing game. I have gathered all the best defenders in baseball up to this point. We used defensive runs saved for infielders, and we used outs above average for outfielders. But before we begin, I have a question for Arm. When you're giving out grades to these prospects, how do you do it? And I know it's very simple, but defense, I feel like, is the hardest thing to quantify. Like we have these stats like outs above average and defensive runs saved, and Baseball Savant has done a really good job, with probability of a catch in the outfield. Can a guy get to a 25% catch probability ball off the bat? Stuff like that. How do you grade defense when it comes to like a top 100? Like I you could look at the numbers, I guess, and you could watch a ton of film, but I feel like it's almost impossible to properly grade these guys.
There's no advanced data for that either in the minor leagues. That's even available in the proprietary stuff that I've able to get to. So a lot of teams don't even track it that well, and if they do, it's kept so tight that no one really gets to see that. So quite honestly, I watch every single ball. Like if it's a top 100 guy, I've watched every single ball that they've caught and or fielded within the last year. Almost every single one. And the things that I look at from an infielder, it's footwork, arm strength, actions. And there's a lot of little things that you can see, I think, from the video that stand out, but it's really tough. It's one of the harder things. If I had $1 for every time, growing up, when I would read scouting reports of this guy will move off of short and then he doesn't move off of short, or this guy won't stick in center and he sticks in center. It's an educated guess at the end of the day, and one of the things that scouts struggle the most with. But if you see good footwork and a good arm, and the guy has pretty good hands, usually you have a pretty decent idea of where they can, if they can stick it short. Outfield's a lot easier because outfield, you can really just judge the jumps off the bat, and then you can kind of just see the routes that they take. And usually if it looks a little funky to you, it probably was. Outfield, you can almost just look, and even a casual fan, I think, would be able to tell who's comfortable in the outfield and who's not. Infield is a lot of nuance, and I got to just watch a guy going to his left, a guy going to his right, a guy coming in. Can he throw from different angles? There's so much that goes into it. Outfield is so much easier.
And catchers, it's got to be even harder. You got great
pitch
framers.
Catchers are the worst.
You got great
catchers
blockers. You got guys who you got to time their pop time, and you got to see how well they are.
I sort every pitch. I sort by outskirts of the zone. and then just watch guys try to frame at the top, the bottom, in, out, block. The whole Harry Ford thing we were talking about. Like sometimes it's fun because you find something. A lot of times it's like, okay, like he's all right at framing. Like it's tough.
And that's why I wanted to. Oh, go ahead, Jack.
No, I was just going to say, just get closer and pull up the low pitch.
Yeah, just get closer.
Oh yeah, yeah. You might as well just sit right on home plate.
Yeah, right.
The reason I wanted to ask that question is I had a feeling that was going to be Arm's answer. And the reason I wanted that answer is it's impossible to figure out the exact best defender at each position at this point. We're going off the numbers. So people on YouTube, let us know in the comments if you think there's been a better defender that maybe has been on your team that you want us to shout out in the comment section below when we go over the best at each position.
Especially at the big league level, it's so hard because like even if this guy's not a good defender, he was good enough to get to the big leagues and for a big league team to put him at that position, which means in the minor leagues, he's probably fine. Whereas when I'm watching guys in the minors, like I'm seeing a guy that just got drafted that they're trying to play it short and quickly they're realizing he has no chance at sticking there. Like he'll never sniff shortstop at the big league level because it's so clunky. At the big league level, it's even tougher because all of these guys were good enough to get a look there at the big league level, where sometimes I'm writing up these prospects and they're done playing shortstop after low A. You know, like we were just talking about Ty Pete with the Mariners. I'm like, there is no chance that guy's going to continue to play shortstop. I can say that very confidently. With the big leaguers, you don't have that. And that's a big difference too, is like all these guys are still good to a degree.
So let's go over the best at each position. It'll be a guessing game, and then I'll give you guys the answer. You'll each get one guess each. Should we keep score?
Yes, because fun? I legitimately think 2 will win this thing. 2 correct guesses will win this thing.
Jack, you got a pen near you?
Yeah, dude, I've got Microsoft OneNote.
Perfect. All right. You got Microsoft OneNote. So it's going to be a little competition here. Best pitch framer in Major League Baseball. This player has the highest strike rate among catchers and is tied for catcher framing runs with 2 other guys. But this has been, by the numbers, the best pitch framer in Major League Baseball to this point. Arm, we'll start with you. What's your guess?
This is so hard. Jonah Heim.
Damn it. Okay, good. All right, that helps me.
Wait. Maybe should I not give the earned?
Yeah.
Then I won't give the earned.
It's okay. It's okay. He won't get this.
Yeah, Salvi.
He won't get this.
Not Salvi. Let's go with
Salvi.
I was kidding.
So the guy's a reverse framer.
How about Raleigh?
You guys and your small market bias. Of course, it's the Bronx Bombers catcher, Jose Trevino.
Oh.
I
forgot he does that. Yeah.
I forgot he catches enough to qualify.
Yeah, that's like why he's on the team. But tied for catcher framing runs with Alejandro Kirk of the Toronto Blue Jays.
That is good for something.
And Bo Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians has been great framing this season.
Glad he's good for something right now. Bo is not hitting.
I know. All right, let's move on to blocking. This one, if you guys guess this, I will Venmo one of you $50 if you're able to guess the best blocker in Major League Baseball right now.
Martin Maldonado with the White Sox.
So we're just handing it in. We don't even want to guess this one correctly.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
Okay. Nick Fortes.
Nope. All right, no $50 for either of you. Carson Kelly.
Yeah, no shot.
Most blocks above average. It's a stat on Baseball Savant, and it measures the number of pass balls and wild pitches saved compared to the expectation of an average catcher. Carson Kelly's at 7. Next best catcher is at 5. So he's like a very good blocker.
Good for Carson Kelly hitting the deck.
Absolutely. Who has the best arm from the catching position? And it's not the highest pop time. It's the guy who leads in catchers caught stealing above average, which is a metric on Baseball Savant that measures the number of extra caught stealings compared to the expectation of the average catcher. This one is crazy. I did not realize that he was this good at nabbing runners. Jack, you got your hand raised.
Guess number Gabby 1. Moreno?
That was my answer too.
All right, well, no.
Really?
No.
He was the best in baseball in the second half last year, but...
So we skipped over this team when we were talking about hottest teams, and they deserve to be mentioned. The Los Angeles Dodgers catcher, Will Smith.
Whoa.
Good for Will Smith.
Yeah, damn right.
He used to be like,
caught
it
a
used to
runner
be
for
run,
Walker.
it used to be run on him all the time.
Yep.
So far this season, he's the best at nabbing runners, above average, of course. First base. This one you guys should get. He's routinely up here.
Christian Walker.
Aram?
Yeah, it's Christian Walker.
It is Christian Walker. But next closest, so defensive runs saved, Christian Walker has 9. Second place has 6. Who do you guys think?
I like that.
Or should I just tell you?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Vinny P.
Ooh,
Kansas City Royals.
good for Vinny.
I told you guys this would be a fun segment. We're just finding out who's grading out well by the numbers defensively.
Good.
Second base. Leader in defensive runs saved. All right.
So easy. He leads baseball. Semien.
Yeah, Marcus
Not,
Semien.
if we're looking at defensive runs saved, it is not Marcus Semien. But he does. I wanted to shout him out because he is the leader in all of Major League Baseball in outs above average, and he has 9 defensive runs saved. But if we're going off defensive runs saved, there is one guy with 11.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. National League West.
Oh, not Stott. I was going to guess Stott, but second baseman with 11 DRS.
I was shocked. I didn't even know he played enough at that position to qualify and be that dominant defensively by the numbers.
I feel like Miguel Rojas is having a good year.
He's not.
He's playing.
He's not playing second much. I don't know if at all.
He's playing some second. Mookie played some short.
True.
Hold
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Hold on.
Arm, you're just looking it up.
No, I'm just looking at teams. Like I'm like just looking at the standings and just trying to like think. Yeah, well, it's definitely not Bogarts.
You want me to give it to you?
Did Tyro?
Tyro Estrada.
It doesn't count. That was my
Doesn't count.
fifth guess. Yeah.
11 defensive runs saved. Let's move over to third base, and we're going to stick in that division.
Who gets the first guess this time?
Go ahead. You.
Me. Is Matt Chapman back?
He's second in defensive runs saved, but he is not the leader. It's a guy in his division, though.
Is it Ryan McMahon?
Nope.
Wow.
They got a couple teams left in the division.
I mean, it's not Muncie.
It's Eugenio Suarez of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yeah, I was as surprised as you guys are. 13 defensive runs saved compared to Matt Chapman at 11.
No
Elite.
way.
Yeah, on this list, outside of shortstop, who we're about to talk about, Eugenio Suarez, number 1 in defensive runs saved, behind shortstop. And we're going to stay in the same division.
Jack first, and then don't give the answer yet.
Okay.
Staying in the same division. Okay, so I was gonna guess actually Bobby Witt, and then I was gonna guess Volpe, but I'm not gonna do that. NL West, shortstop in the NL West. What?
I said smart that you're not going to guess them.
Yeah, I mean,
Think about the player that the fans keep chanting his name.
yeah, is it Ha-Seong Kim?
Ha-Seong Kim. 15 defensive runs saved.
Arm, I'll put that down for a yes for you too, because Peter spoiled it.
I did spoil it. Sorry.
I was going to say Nick Ahmed. No,
All right, put him down for
I was
a
between
loss.
those two. I don't know. I was going to panic, but we'll call that one a push.
Guess who's number 2? Mason Wynn of the Cardinals.
Wow.
Dude, he
14
can pick
defensive
it.
runs saved.
I'm telling you, dude, watching that guy for like a week at a time, it's crazy the stuff that he does. Like he makes the easy plays look like he can do it in his sleep, and he makes the hard plays look easy.
Remember when Justin Turner said he should stop throwing the ball so hard nobody cares?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one cares. It's not. That was the worst take.
I've seen several double plays that he's gotten that nobody else at the shortstop position is going to get.
There was a double play yesterday, or it was Tuesday's game, I think, or no, Wednesday's. It's like a chopper to Jonathan India, and it definitely looks like Jonathan India should go to first, but he just fires it over to second to Ellie De La Cruz. Ellie goes like basically submarine and nabs the runner at first, where everybody in the stadium thought the guy would be safe. The cannons
His
on
arm
some
is
of these
crazy.
guys.
It's fun to watch too. I don't know why we wouldn't want to see them throw it fast.
So fun to watch. Now let's go to the outfield. Now we're looking at outs above average. Left field should be pretty easy. Aram, I'll give you a chance to go first so I don't spoil it.
Dalton Varsho.
Jack?
Yeah, Varsho.
Dalton Varsho is your leader in outs above average in left field. Shout out Colton
MVP.
Cowser in second.
Whoa.
Cool.
That's
cool for
actually nice.
Cowser. It was good that he got out of center.
Yeah.
And speaking about center field, who do we think?
Jack, your turn.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a great.
It's a good question.
It's one of the better questions that I've heard in quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I have a feeling that he might be in the National League East.
Don't react. Stop. You saw that reaction. The way he shook his head laterally makes me think that he's in the NL East.
Yep.
You should focus there.
I'm gonna go. I don't know. Michael Harris.
Oh, he's stuck to the NL East. Give me Julio Rodriguez.
Bang. Aram gets
Oh,
it.
it's over. It's over.
It is.
It's over.
Just wait till we get to right field, man.
It is Julio Rodriguez. And second, Kevin Kiermaier, obviously. But Julio Rodriguez has been a damn good defender in center field. All right, what's the score right now as we get to our final?
Aram leads 4-3.
So to tie it up, Jack needs this one. And Aram, look at his show for all the YouTube folks. It's over from Vince Carter.
The Vince Carter shit.
I think about that meme every single time. But yeah.
Aram, so that means you're guessing first to give Jack a chance.
Okay.
The best defender in right field. Now, this one's also tough because I had to make an audible. There are 11 players, 11 right fielders with 1 outs above average. 11 of them. But only one of them, of the 11, has 2 defensive runs saved.
So it's the best of the average, is what you're telling me.
Literally, the best of the slightly above average.
Okay.
So, is this the right answer? I don't know. Based on the numbers, you could make that argument. But this is my answer, and you guys have to guess it. So, best defender in right field this season. Aram, you first.
This is a tough one. I'm
You could put a dagger in his heart right now by getting this one.
I'm gonna go.
I have mine locked in.
Also, before you answer, I think it's fun too. A lot of people listening, I hope that you're also guessing as you're listening to. I think this is fun.
Oh. I'm sure they hear our guesses and they're like, no. Oh. I'll go Adolis Garcia.
Damn it, dude. Now I have to change it up because if we guess the same thing and we go up
Yeah, it's Final Jeopardy.
I had Adolis ready to go.
I will say though, I do think there was a good chance I would have said Nick Ahmed.
Yeah.
So if you nail this, it's a wrap. You win.
Okay.
Come
on, Jack. Channel that inner analyst. He's got nothing.
Springer?
Oh!
That
Oh,
can't
wait,
be,
wait,
that
wait.
can't be
Wilyer Abreu. No?
Not Wilyer Abreu. I'll give you guys one last hint. I'll give you one last hint. American League West. And it's not Adolis Garcia.
And it's not Adolis.
Whoever gets it first wins.
Yeah. Kyle Tucker.
Jack, you take another L. Unfortunately, it is Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker has 1 outs above average, but he's the only one with 2 defensive runs saved. Also tied with him in defensive runs saved, Starling Marte. Would have been an acceptable answer.
Looks like he's healthy, which is nice. I wouldn't wish double groin surgery on my worst enemy.
And the hitters of the week is brought to you by Outlier.bet. Outlier is a sports betting decision assistant for aspiring, intermediate, and advanced sports bettors who understand that data is the foundation of a profitable sports betting strategy. Outlier pairs hyper-contextual and relevant sports data with available betting markets. And unlike traditional sports data sites like ESPN and Baseball Reference, Outlier organizes and visualizes data for easy comprehension. That's why we use it for the top 5 hitters of the week, because it gives us all the data we need, and it helps with efficient decision-making and immediate execution. Make sure to check out its first of its kind strike zone heat maps and pitch arsenal roundups that allow you to quickly visualize pitcher and batter matchups all in one screen. It's available on iOS, desktop, and mobile browsers. Get your 7-day free trial at outlier.bet/justbaseball. So if you're interested in downloading Outlier, which I highly, highly recommend, Jack, Arm, all of us at Just Baseball use it to find our data. Use that 7-day free trial. You can go to outlier.bet/justbaseball, or you can just download outlier.bet and use promo code justbaseball. Try a 7-day free trial on us. Looks like we're playing more of a guessing game here, gentlemen. Time for you guys to guess the top 5 hitters of the week.
Couple of guys with chalk. Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani is number 1. This past week, 4 bombs, 4 stolen bases, hit 476 with a 577 OBP for a 341 WRC plus. Shohei Ohtani, I saw this tweet, and I apologize, I don't remember where it's from, but Edgar Martinez, back in the days with the Seattle Mariners, has the F-WAR record in a single season for DH at 7.0. Shohei Ohtani is on pace for 10.7 as a DH. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's really cool, and he's our clear hitter of the week. You have more chalk, Jack. Go ahead.
Yeah, Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge actually comes in at 8th. Wow. So he's definitely top 10, but not quite top 5.
Ozuna
is not on here. Well, yeah, he is. He's 16, but not quite top 5.
I don't know.
Semien?
Marcus Semien is not on here. I'll give you guys some hints. So we have AL Central, NL East, NL Central, and AL West.
Bryce Harper's been going crazy.
Bryce Harper comes in at 6, Arm. You were right there. He's been raking, though, and he deserves to be up here, but he did come in at 6.
How about, I think there's another Dodger that's been hitting well. Is there another Dodger in here?
There is not another Dodger, but Teoscar Hernandez is at 9. So not quite top 5, but yes, Teoscar Hernandez has been raking. I'll give you guys better hits. So we'll start one by one. Number 2 is a DH in the NL West.
DH in the NL West.
Have you not been seeing him hit home runs every day? Dude's been electric.
In the NL West?
AL West, excuse me. Sorry. AL West.
The AL West. DH in the AL West.
Brent Rooker.
Yeah, he has been going crazy.
Tons of home runs, 334 WRC plus this past week, hitting 462, 548 OBP, slugging over 1,000 in that span. Also playing DH, higher F-WAR this week than Shohei Ohtani at 0.9. That's how damn good he's been.
They're going to trade him, huh?
He's got a 1-win week. Yeah, trade package Rooker and Mason Miller in the same deal.
That'd be electric. All right, and number 3, I'll give you a hint. You just got hurt.
Trey.
Nope.
NL
Central. NL Central.
NL Central just got hurt?
We just talked about it. Yes, sir.
Oh, Wilson Contreras.
Wilson Contreras.
Oh, Wilson.
Yeah.
For the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, before he got hurt, 389, 500, 889 for a 280 WRC plus. Now, this one, if you guys get, I'll be shocked. National League East. I'll even give you the team. He's a Washington National. Any guesses?
Luis Garcia.
Yup. Luis Garcia. Look at that ball knowledge from freaking Jack McMullen. 429, 520, 810 slug, 269 WRC plus, a few bombs, a few steals, plenty of RBIs, walking a ton. Luis Garcia has been awesome. So now we get to number 5. AL Central outfielder.
AL Central outfielder.
Kepler.
Freaking Jack McMullen is
Jack.
insane ball knowledge right now. Walking more than he's striking out while hitting 440, 517, slugging 800, 267 WRC plus. Now the power numbers haven't exactly been there from a home run perspective, but the dude is spraying doubles this week. So rounding out the top 10, Shea Langeliers of the A's at 6, Bryce Harper of the Phillies at 7, Aaron Judge of the Yankees at 8, Teoscar Hernandez of the Dodgers at 9, and Bobby Witt Jr. of the Royals at 10.
Real quick. We did this on yesterday's show. Peter and I did. Wilson Contreras in 31 games has a 949 OPS. Minimum 1 plate appearance. What is the second highest OPS on the St. Louis Cardinals?
Minimum 1 plate appearance?
Anybody that's picked up a bat. Wilson Contreras has a 949 OPS. That leads all Cardinals.
The next highest on the Cardinals.
Next highest.
Shit, man.
I gave.
I'm not asking for player. Just give me a number. Just throw out a number.
Oh, what's the next highest OPS?
Yeah.
720.
Yeah, so 740. But like they have 3 guys that have picked up a bat with an OPS over 700. Wilson at 949, Nolan Arenado at 741. Jose Fermin has 11 ABs and a 702 OPS.
The hitting factory over there.
Everybody else is 699 or lower. Just insane. Okay. Games of the weekend to wrap, shall we?
Let's do it.
Real quick, rapid fire. 640 in Detroit. 640 in Detroit. Framber Valdez, Casey Mize. Who wins?
Astros. They're going to get hot at some point, right?
No.
Give me the Tigers. Give me Casey Mize.
W.
In Comerica. Taj Bradley makes his return tonight at 6:50 in Tampa against the Yankees and Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt, Taj Bradley. Who wins?
Yankees.
Rays get hot. They, I think, it fires them up to get back against New York, and I think Bradley shoves.
Okay. Minnesota at Toronto. Joe Ryan, Yusei Kikuchi.
Ooh.
I'm sticking with the hot Twins. I like their bats right now. I'll take Minnesota.
I don't know how the Twins splits are, but Kikuchi's been throwing real well.
Yep.
I'm going to go.
Twins split's definitely better against righties with all those lefties in the lineup.
I figure. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to go Mariners.
Okay. Cincinnati, San Francisco tonight at 10:15.
Wait a minute. Did you say
Blue Jays,
did you say
Blue
Twins
Jays.
Blue Jays?
Blue
Yeah,
Jays.
Twins.
Yeah,
Sorry,
with
I meant Blue
Kikuchi,
Jays. Blue
Okay.
Jays.
Reds, Giants in San Francisco, 10:15. Andrew Abbott, Logan Webb. In San Francisco.
Giants can hit a lefty a little bit. I'll stick with Webb at home in Oracle.
Okay.
I love Lodolo right now.
No, Abbott, not Lodolo.
Oh, sorry, you said Abbott. I can't hear right now. Yeah, I'll go with the Giants in that one. Actually, no, I take it back. Abbott's keeping the ball in the yard out there.
Yep.
I'm gonna go Reds.
All right.
Webb's been weirdly bad.
3-5, I think at this point.
8 earned runs in his last 2 starts, but he was lights out 3 starts in a row before that. So I don't know.
No bueno. Saturday, 4:10, Braves, Mets. Max Fried, Christian Scott in New York.
Braves.
Yeah, that might be a welcome to the big leagues moment for Christian Scott there. Yeah, I'll go Braves.
Okay. In Tampa, Nestor Cortez, Zach Littell.
Yankees.
I like Yankees in that one.
Okay. And then Sunday, do we have anything in note? Arizona, Baltimore in Baltimore. Zach Gallen, Dean Kramer.
It's in Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
Give me the Orioles. Dean Kramer is one of the most profitable pitchers in like the last 20 years to bet on. Because it's always like, oh, this is the game the Orioles are going to lose. They have Dean Kramer that they never lose when he's on the mound.
All right. And then Sunday at 1:40, last game that we got to go over. I want guesstimated pitching lines for both these guys. Phillies, Marlins in Miami. Braxton Garrett makes his season debut against the Phillies. How does that go?
I think he pitches okay. I'm going to go 5 innings, 2 earned, 4 strikeouts. I think he pitches okay.
I'm going to go 5 innings, 4 earned, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts.
In the words of Greg Amsinger, I'm on no hitter watch for Zach Wheeler on Sunday in Miami.
Yeah, I legitimately think. I think he goes CG. I think he Maddoxes them. I think the Marlins set the record for the most Maddoxes against. Because it's just not only do they not hit, they also are like aggressive and undisciplined.
So they'll bounce out on the first pitch.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 9 innings, 10 Ks, 1 walk, 4 hits, 96 pitches.
So that'll do it for this episode of A Casual Friday here on the Just Baseball Show. We definitely filled up plenty of time with all the topics to bring you. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts 5 stars. It's the best way to help out the show without spending a dime. As well as if you're watching on YouTube, hit that big red subscribe button and go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. I'm rocking the Bleecker Trading. I'm rocking a nice polo, Arms wearing merch. Jack, no excuse there. Don't be like Jack. Go get your Just Baseball merch in the episode description. And if you would, try out our partners, whether that be Game Time. If you're going out to get some tickets, use our code Just Baseball. You need data? You need bets? Outlier.bet, code Just Baseball. And for all you degens out there, I'm rocking with you. Code Just Baseball on BetMGM. For Jack McMullen, Arm Layden, I am Peter Apple. We will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. And with that, thank you, everybody.